Let's spend a few moments talking about how we can get our environment ready to help with our learning. And I think here we're just going to kind of go through very quickly some very simple common sense things. And that are such things as getting there early and making sure that we get our room in order. And, you know, kids learn better in an environment that is orderly and clean and neat and organized. We also want to make sure that you get a chance to arrange your seats in a way that's going to be a functional seating arrangement, but also very welcoming. And don't let the kids come in and sit wherever they want, because they'll sit with their friends and form cliques, and you'll have trouble brewing. I like to nip that in the bud as they come in, and I have their name tents on each chair. And I remember one kid coming in and saying, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Yeah, I am. Sit where you find your name." You know, as the year goes on, you might be able to let them sit where they want, but not at first. You got to show the control you have. So provide those name tags and name tents. Also, it's a great way for you to get to know their names and use their names as quickly as you can. That's going to give you more control over them instead of saying, "Hey, you over there." Creating a prayer center is very important because you want this to be a faith-filled experience, and also to have this feel a little less like going to school and more like going to church. And so a nice prayer center is an important visual, and then inviting kids to bring symbols that they can put on that table, as this catechist did, and inviting each child to bring in a stone that was placed on the table, and then they put little sayings on those stones. A few more things that we can do. One is kids are very visual, so do what you can to display posters and pictures and sacred objects to get their attention, and also to show how Catholicism teaches beyond words. We are a sacramental church, and we also teach that same way. Try to get there early and put lists up on the board, the chalkboard, the easel, a wipe-off board, whatever it is that you have, to put that up before the kids arrive so that when they come in, they see lots of information is awaiting them, and it also will prevent you from having to turn your back on them and write those lists while you're teaching, and you don't want to turn your back on a group of adolescents. Make sure you get your supplies organized well in advance so that if it's time to move into a craft activity, you're not taking too much time saying, "Oh, okay, where are those scissors? Where can we find some tape?" And things like that. You're able to keep moving without interrupting. We talked before about using technology. The key is, if you're going to use technology, make sure you get there early to figure out how it's used. Make sure you know how to turn the power on, how to adjust the volume, how to turn it off, and all of those things so that you're not at a loss, again, while you're in front of a class saying, "Okay, how do I work this thing?" Because then we're just going to lose them. And then finally, show some good stewardship. Make sure that you straighten up before you leave, because chances are you're teaching in a class that is being used probably by a Catholic school teacher the very next day and needs to have it back the way it was when we came in. Now, we mentioned before about the importance of prayer, and I'd like to get back to that now to talk about the importance of leading prayer and how we can help young people this age to pray in a very reflective way. The General Directory for Catechesis tells us that the most effective catechesis takes place within a climate of prayer. So let's see just what we can do to lead young people in a prayer form that they adapt to with a little bit of work, but once they do, they absolutely love, and that is reflective prayer. Leading guided reflections or meditations. And the nice thing about this is that junior high kids are much more capable of doing this for an extended period of time. Junior high and high school kids. Your junior high kids can probably do this for, 12, 13 minutes. The high school kids, 15 to 20 minutes of reflective prayer, depending on how much time you have. But let's look at some of the simple steps that we follow to do that. The first is simply getting our young people ready. We do that by inviting them to find a comfortable posture, whether that be in the chair that they're in or leaving that chair and sitting on the floor or laying on the floor. Whatever it is, you want them to be alert, though. So if they're sitting on the floor is better than laying. If they lay down, you might lose them. Also put on a little bit of quiet instrumental music and perhaps dim the lights a little bit. If you go for complete silence, that's a bit too much, and actually causes kids to want to draw more attention to themselves by breaking the silence. So if you have some quiet music, that's a little bit more lulling. They're going to quiet down a little quicker. And then also getting them to do some deep breathing, literally slowing their metabolism down by taking a deep breath and holding it and then letting it out very slowly. And doing that for maybe a good 90 seconds or so, just to get them to slow down, because their metabolisms are racing at this age. So we physically have to slow them down. So that first step of getting them ready might take 2 or 3 minutes. And again, be patient, because they don't know how to do this at first. It's going to take them a few weeks. A priest at a workshop I gave just last week said it usually took them 4 or 5 weeks before they could really get into this. And then from that point on, they kept asking, when are we going to do the prayer? Because they really enjoy that time. The guided reflection that you lead, whether it's from a book like the Finding God program that Loyola Press puts out, or any other book of guided reflections, or one that you write yourself. The important thing is that you're going to be leading your young people to a place in their imaginations where they can talk with Jesus. So that means that you need to speak slowly. It means you need to give lots of pauses so that they can spend that time talking with Jesus and spend that time listening to him. And then also just leaving some quiet time where they are with the Lord and just feeling like he's right there. One of the greatest compliments I ever had was after doing a guided reflection for junior high kids, an 8th grader. I asked them for some reaction afterwards, and this one boy just very kind of sheepishly said, "It's like Jesus was sitting right next to me." And I thought, that is really cool. That's why I became a catechist, because you know what? Jesus is right there next to that young man, and now he knows it. You want to finish that guided reflection by simply allowing some quiet time for them to spend with God. So you kind of wean yourself from the reflection, just allow it to be quiet, and allow them to just slowly begin to come back after they've spent some of that quiet time with God.